Hello, my name is Henry Gilbert, and today I will be talking about antenna designs for 5G cell phones. So, first of all, what is 5G? 5G is the next generation of cellular communications, and it has already been launched in certain cities, but it will be fully implemented by 2020 in America. And the main difference between 5G and the previous generations are the frequencies that are used. So, through the previous generations, the frequencies have incrementally increased, yet when we switch to 5G, the frequency increases from less than 3 gigahertz to up to 100 gigahertz. And when we start using these super high frequencies, we begin using what's called millimeter wavelength radiation, which is waves that have a wavelength of less than 1 millimeter. And the reason why 5G is important is because currently we are seeing a exponential growth in global cellular data traffic. So for example, from 2017 to 2022, we are expecting to see a 700% growth in data traffic. And some of the reasons for this are the development of data intensive applications such as ultra high definition video streaming, virtual reality, and self driving cars. And so 5G will be able to support these applications because it uses those super high frequencies. And with those high frequencies, 5G has far more available bandwidth, and it's also way faster. It's 100 times faster than 4G, which means that users will be able to download a full length high definition movie in only 6 seconds. However, there are some very serious health concerns that this millimeter wavelength radiation can have on the human body. And I listed a summary of the effects here, but the general point is that long-term exposure to the high frequency radiation can have detrimental effects on your human body and is therefore something that we have to consider when we design 5G cell phones. And then in addition to user safety, some of the other design considerations that you have to think about are the signal strength of the antenna. So you need the antenna to have enough gain that it can send the signal to the cell tower reliably. And you also have to consider the signal propagation. So the millimeter wavelengths are very easily blocked. So for example, if the antenna is underneath the metal case of your cell phone, then that metal will actually block most of the signal, which means that the antenna must be on the exterior of the cell phone. So in this presentation, I will discuss 3 different 5G antenna designs, and the first is the Motorola 5G mod, which allows you to upgrade your 4G Motorola phone to use 5G networks. And then I'll talk about the Qualcomm. It's basically an antenna on a chip, and it's in use by many cell phone companies right now. And then the third is a slot antenna, which is still sort of in the research phase. It hasn't been used on any cell phones yet, but has a lot of potential. The first design that I will discuss is the Motorola 5G Moto mod. And this is a mod for your phone that you can clip onto the back of an older Motorola phone, and it'll allow that phone to use 5G networks. And the way that Motorola chose to address the human exposure to millimeter wavelengths is by having a proximity sensor that detects when the phone is near to the human body, and at that point it will shut off those 5G antennas. The next design that I will discuss is the Qualcomm QTM052 millimeter wavelength antenna module, which is basically just a Qualcomm manufactured antenna chip that you can use with any that many different cell phone manufacturers choose to use in their designs. And part of the reason it's so popular is because it works super well with the Qualcomm processors. So Samsung, LG, and many other different cell phone manufacturers use this chip. And however, the one limitation is that because the millimeter wavelengths cannot penetrate through the metal, this cell phone has to have open portions um, against the antennas. Or what they often do is they'll put a little glass piece that the radiation can propagate through. And one notable device that uses that Qualcomm antenna chip is the Samsung Galaxy S10 5G, which is considered right now to be one of the best 5G cell phones. So the next design that I will talk about is the slot antenna design. And the way that this works is they etch shapes out of a metal plate, and these shapes that they etch out radiate the electric energy and radiate the cell phone signal. And this design has a lot of potential for cell phone use because the slots, they can create different shapes to create a highly directional antenna, and also because instead of using a metal plate, they can use the outside metal shell of the cell phone. So I researched many different slot antenna designs, and this one seemed to be the best. So they have two different subarrays, one along the top and then one along the side, and the each subarray is a series of different slits that all conduct the radiation. And the reason they have two different subarrays is so that when the cell phone is up against your head when you're talking, you can use one of those subarrays and it will use what's called beam steering to direct the radiation away from your head and limit your exposure to that dangerous millimeter wavelength radiation. And then the subarray 2 along the top is used when you're holding the phone in your hands, and it'll direct that radiation away from your body. So they built a prototype of that slot antenna and ran some tests on it, and they were able to create the highly directive antenna that they wanted to steer the beams away from the user's head and body and create a cell phone that was within the government regulations of what is considered safe. So, in conclusion, I discussed three different solutions for how to design 5G cell phones. And the first is the Motorola 5G mod, which is really cool because it allows older cell phones to use 5G networks just with that mod, and so you don't have to buy a whole new cell phone. And then the next solution I discussed is the Qualcomm antenna chip, which is really good because it works well with the Qualcomm processor and is very easy to incorporate into cell phone designs, but which means it is become very popular and has been used by many different companies. And then the next design is the slot antenna design, which is cool because it can save space in the cell phone by integrating the antennas into the metal shell of the cell phone. And while the other designs certainly have their benefits, the slot antenna design is the best because it achieves similar performance as the other solutions while also saving space by integrating the antenna into the shell of the phone. And although this slot antenna design has not yet been implemented into any cell phones, I would definitely expect it to be a very popular option in future 5G cell phone designs. So that's the end of my presentation. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.